Bueno, hola a todos, buenas tardes.
Adelante.
Please, yeah, come on here, dear panelists. Okay, please, sit down. Muchas gracias a todos los que nos están acompañando. Ya sabemos, son las últimas dos paneles que quedan ya y agradecemos a la BitConf por la invitación. Y bueno, primero que todo, presentarme. Mi nombre es Cristóbal Pereira. Actualmente estoy trabajando con el equipo de Celo en Latinoamérica. Voy a estar moderando este panel que tiene como principalmente objetivo hablar de los puentes entre las distintas blockchains, riesgos, oportunidades, entender un poquito sobre su funcionamiento y sobre todo qué esperar, obviamente, hacia el futuro. ¿Ya? Sí decirles que el panel lo vamos a estar haciendo en inglés, ¿ya? Vamos a tratar de hacerlo lo más simple posible y quiero presentar a los panelistas que me acompañan ahora. Así que ahora sí el cambio a inglés. So, thank you for being here, Mario, Javier, and Pablo. Let me introduce you, Pablo. Sorry, Mario. Mario is working on protocol stuff in Ethereum Foundation. And also he has been contributing to Bitcoin and Lightning projects, and he considered generally as a hacker. Javier, sitting here next to me, is head of research at Rustock Labs, where he has been working for the last 4 years, and that he leads various initiatives related to Bitcoin bridging. The most recent one of them is BitBMX. And Pablo, that is in the middle, is co-founder of XLabs.xyz and Wormhole Bridge Core contributor. So thank you for being here. And let's start with the first question. Javier and every one of you. To start off, what are each of you currently working on in the area of bridging?
Yeah, well, as you said, I work at Rustock Labs, which is the core or the main maintainer of Rustock. And for us, since Rustock Labs is Rustock is a sidechain of Bitcoin. It has to be connected to Bitcoin, and the bridge that connects Bitcoin and Rustock is one of the most critical parts of the sidechain. And that's mainly where we try to innovate or to work on to make it more secure, faster, cheaper, and all that. That's mainly what we're doing in Rustock. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Pablo?
Yeah, we at XLabs, we are running core infrastructure in Wormhole. We are core contributors, so we have the Explorer, relayers, and other tools that depend on us, of the whole infrastructure.
Perfect. And Mario?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I worked on Ethereum core protocol stuff, which doesn't include much of bridging per se. However, there are a lot of bridging technologies that I've been interested in because of like general research perspective. Of course, Ethereum has a lot of layer 2s, which started popping out like 3-4 years ago, and at a time, one of my main focus was actually security analysis of different bridge technologies in the EVM world. But as a user of Bitcoin, of Lightning, and also some other chains, I was always interested in what kind of bridges I can use to use this technology natively and also securely. So. Not currently working, but in generally very much interested in bridging, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for your answer. And before we go to the second question, let me give you a little of things that I think that are important to mention. No sé si alguno de acá de ustedes ha utilizado alguna vez algún puente de blockchain, algún puente entre alguna blockchain y otra. ¿Sí? Sí, tenemos acá algunas personas que han utilizado. Entonces, why do you think bridging between networks is so essential in the blockchain ecosystem today? And what specific motivations drive the development of different type of bridging?
Yeah, so, well, it seems that it's clear that there are multiple blockchains. Yeah. There's not only one blockchain, no? I personally think that that's good. So I think that bridging is very important, no? to be able to interoperate over all these different blockchains. And even if there was only one blockchain, I think we would at least need bridging to create things like layer 2s, for example, that can extend functionality. No? In the case of Rostock, to extend the functionality of Bitcoin. No? So for these reasons, I think that bridging is going to be very important. Well, it is important and it will continue being important, I think.
Okay, that's awesome. So basically, for you, it's important because of you can improve what, in this case, Bitcoin blockchain can do with other chains related.
Yeah, in the particular case or the specific case of Rostock, as I said, the bridging assets from Bitcoin to Rostock is critical. And then taking into account that there are multiple blockchains in the ecosystem, no? And I think that's very positive. Interoperability between these blockchains is going to enable additional use cases. It can bring more value to users in different ways. And that's why I think bridging assets or bridging stuff between blockchains is going to be very important always.
Perfect. Yeah, of course. Pablo?
Yeah, in a world where different blockchains coexist, as we have now, with different prices and different use cases running in different blockchains, a bridge is a way to connect those blockchains, to be able to message one blockchain from the other, to send assets from one blockchain to the other, to use collateral from one blockchain to the other. So the protocols with the bridge can accept assets from different blockchains and use the collateral from one blockchain to be used to get a loan in another blockchain. These kind of features, if you think about a tool set of that you can use in any protocol, then you will have a lot of features that you can create in different blockchains, in different protocols. So I think bridging is something that is happening in all the blockchains, and it's happening. The protocols are supporting more and more. For example, Uniswap is now supporting voting from different blockchains, and that is something that before the maturity of these bridges was not possible. And more features will be created because the base technology was built and different layers are being built at this moment. So the future is with interoperability among the different blockchains, and we will not see that there is a bridge below as a protocol base.
Yeah, as we discussed it earlier, that for the user is going to be easier and simpler, that we are going to use just one, like a super app that below they are going to have connecting with different blockchains, but for us as users, we only going to see like one front end and one application, and for below there's going to be having in all of these kind of bridges to help us in those kind of user experience.
Yeah, it's a low-level technology that we will not see. We will interact with the protocols as it is happening now. If you vote in Uniswap, it's not something that you will see that there is a message going through wormhole. And the same happens with if you use a protocol, a DeFi protocol, and you deposit assets from one blockchain, and then you see the balance in your front end, and it's a wrapped asset that it's in the target blockchain.
Yeah, and Mario, for you.
Well, what to add? So I don't reiterate something that was already said here. My perspective is, so as a crypto anarchist, I see this as a set of tools. We call it blockchains, but these are for me different tools, right? If I want to send transactions, I use Bitcoin. If I want private transactions, I use Modera. If I want to use DeFi or some kinds of apps, I can use Ethereum, etc. So my perspective is that you can utilize what is the best for you in that moment, and there are also different communities which are embracing different sorts of technologies. And by bridging, we can empower them, right? We can get even more power when we are together. You know, the old example of having like a couple of sticks and you cannot break them when they are together, right? So I think bridging ultimately is not just about like some personal gain and the liquidity, but as a communities working together, we can be more empowered. It can be very practical for somebody who is just using Monero and now he's at La Bitcoin, wants to pay here, they accept only Bitcoin here, right? And what Pablo said, I think that's really the utopia in the future when you are accepting Bitcoin, I only have some other coin, and I can just directly pay you the invoice without thinking about it. It goes through some, let's say, secure bridge, and it just appears in your wallet and we are both happy, right? So this full interoperability through different tools and different technologies can empower everyone. So that's why I find it very important to build bridges, and also because like it's part of adoption as well. Like we talk about adoption here a lot, and again, different kind of people, different kind of communities have different entrance to this ecosystem. For somebody, it's Bitcoin and savings and payments. For somebody, it's the Monero. For somebody, it's NFTs, right? There was a like huge entrance for blockchain for many people who never heard about it before. And now, if they have some native form of bridging, they can be part of all of these communities. They can, when they suddenly decide, I want to try the new thing, I want to try buy airplane tickets with Bitcoin or something, they can easily bridge, right? So you can utilize now the power and the well, liquidity or the strength of all these different communities being able to just bridge between each other, work together. Yeah. So that's yeah.
One question that I wanted to ask you is that you mentioned about Monero, and we all know that Monero have a lot of privacy, right? So it is able to connect Monero and maintain privacy with other chains, like trying to bridging Monero with other chains? What about the privacy with that, for example?
Yeah, like that's one thing that, for example, in some chains like Monero, it's easier to maintain the privacy, right? And then when we have some permissionless, KYC-free bridge, people can enter also the other ecosystem through this way, right? So it might be easier for somebody to enter the Bitcoin anonymously without going through some coins which have a bunch of history. They can enter through some atomic swap through Monero, for example. Same for Ether, right? Like, sadly, most of the users of these chains are KYC. They use centralized exchanges, right? And there is a lot of peer-to-peer volume. There is a lot of peer-to-peer people trading Bitcoin, Monero mostly, I think. I mean, at least what I saw here. And for these people, then entering the other kind of markets, the other technologies, that's possible through the bridging. So if you find a single entry point which is without a KYC, because for some people it will be USDT, right? For some people who just want the stability, the stable coins, but I want something else. I want Monero. I would never touch USDT, but you have it, and I have the cash, and I want to enter the crypto as a whole, the whole ecosystem. So we can just do it by you sending me the USDT through the Monero swap or something like this. So yeah, embracing the liquidity of all kinds of people who have different preferences and enabling us to work more easily together. Like, this is a big problem in the fiat world as well. If you think about it, the bridge of the fiat world is the exchange here where I give them dollars and they give me pesos. And it's a huge pain, right? Yeah. So I think we can learn from this pain also from the fiat world and make it much easier and enable this the potential of crypto is to be truly global and borderless, and that's what makes bridges make even easier and more approachable. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. And this different kind of bridging that we were mentioned, there is a distinction, because what are the difference between bridging that are custodial and non-custodial? And how do each of those options impact in terms of security? Because we know that there have been different hacks, and a lot of money have been lost, then recovered, but a lot of hacks in this region. So what are the difference between non-custodial and custodial bridging? And what are the most important things that we need to understand in terms of risk or security?
Okay. So when we talk about bridging, in reality, is not real bridging. We are not transferring assets really from one blockchain to another, no? Most bridges, what they do is to lock an amount of assets in one blockchain and then unlock the same amount of assets in the other blockchain, no? And then the importance is how do you handle this locking of assets? How do you handle this transfer of information between the two blockchains? And how do you validate that something has happened in another place, right? And different bridges, they end up differing in how they implement these things, no? When we talk about custodial bridges, is that someone has control of the assets being locked, no? And I think that in custodial also, there are different levels of custody, you know? You can have totally centralized custody where only one company, for example, holds the locked assets. You could have a federated model, or you can have sometimes, like in Rostock, for example, a federated with some extra security, like a hardware security module, no? And then you could have completely decentralized bridges where these funds being locked are protected by consensus, no? And only if you can prove by consensus that something has happened in the other blockchain, that there's been some burning or locking of assets in the other blockchain, then you can unlock the original assets, no? Yeah. And that's where more or less different solutions differ and the different degrees of securities that you can have, no? A centralized custodial solution, if the person or entity that controls the keys gets hacked or whatever, the funds can be stolen. For a validating bridge that is run by consensus, that's much more difficult, no?
Yeah. So three types of bridging. One if custody, the keys are custodied by a company, or a federated one that is the base what Rostock have in terms of bridging between Bitcoin and Rostock blockchain. And one more decentralized way of bridging also in terms of custodial bridging, right? Okay. Pablo,
yeah, it's important, this decentralization of the bridges. If you want to make a real security, it's in the case of Wormhole, I can talk about the Guardians. Wormhole had a hack, during the tough times of the bridges at the beginning, and we learned a lot. The protocol itself decentralized completely in different companies. XLabs, my company, in some way is the result of this change, because they decentralized in different companies the development of the product and also the different components of the product. Also, the honeypots of the bridges. The biggest problem in the bridges is that if you breach an asset, you have an asset in a smart contract that is a honeypot for hackers. And what you need to change is that specifically. Yeah. And something that Wormhole did was to reduce the amount of asset that you can breach. So if an attacker gets control of the smart contract, only can breach a certain amount of asset that is a maximum per day. Okay. And that's the maximum that the attacker can get in a case of a hack. That means that the incentives of an attack are reduced a lot. And another thing at the same time was to increase the amount of the bounties. The bounties now are up to $20 million. Wormhole paid $20 million for a single bounty once. Okay. And that means that if you're an attacker, you will not get $20 million with the attack, because all the breaches are capped. Yeah. So at least you can get 5 million. And if you present that in a bounty, you will get more money. Yeah. And that improves a lot the security. And so it's something that you have to build day by day, working with different companies. to audit everything, open source also, because it's the only way to create good bounties and to be meaningful. Because if you add friction to audit, it doesn't work. So it's something that you need to work all the time. And also, there were some breaches that had only a set of keys that were stored by a single company. And that is, even if you have 20 different keys and they are stored, a few companies are storing the keys, it's like it's something that is not decentralized, and only attacking one company or at least two companies, you can get the assets.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a lot of work have been done to secure the breaches, and you see the results now.
Yeah. Breaching are evolving. Of course, there is some kind of risk in terms of what happened, for example, with Wormhole, but Wormhole learned about this, improve the security, implement this barrier of this $20 million that you can like breaching maximum, and you have incentivized for the hackers not to do that, to take 20 millions in bounty better. And well, also security in terms of the technology is improving. Also, it will help for breaching, for being more secure. Of course, is what happened also when DeFi protocol started. Like a lot of hacks were in those kind of applications, but then DeFi protocols learn, understand, evolve, and today we are seeing less hacking into DeFi protocols, and they are focusing more in breaching, but it's the same thing. I mean, they are evolving, there are new technologies, new ways of seeing things, and this is going to happen that breaching is going to be more secure in the future.
Yeah, also USDC, for example, they created a protocol to avoid completely the honeypots. If you breach USDC from one blockchain to the other, instead of creating a wrapped asset, they burn the original asset and they mint a new asset.
Yeah.
And that means that you will hold always a native asset that is bare for the user, and also you don't keep a collateral asset as a honeypot.
Yeah.
The same thing is created in Wormhole for any asset that you can implement. It's called an entity protocol, that you can make the same mechanism, because instead of breaching a wrap asset, what you do is you burn the original asset, and with that proof of burn, you tell the guardians to mint a new token. And that reduced a lot the incentive to hack. So
thank you. Great. Mario?
Yeah, again, a lot was said here already. Yeah, so the custodial and like other kinds of bridging, because like when we say custodial, it's kind of straightforward, but then it gets much more complicated. Like Pablo described here multiple ways of bridging, and there are even more when we talk about also other kind of chains. And so first of all, I would compare it maybe to like the general like trust assumption model. I would say it's something like free open source software that is proprietary, whether you decide to just blindly trust or you want to have some control with some other trade-offs, in a way that the custodial bridges, so I'm not going to act like one is just better than another, because in reality, people often prefer the custodial bridges because they offer faster transactions, better UX, better fees. So sadly, people have some actual motivation to go this path. And the custodial bridges, that when we talk about this, that's literally just giving somebody's money and hoping they will give you back at some other chain, right? Yeah. So you can just look at some like track record of the company, and also these kind of providers also get hacked. So it's basically a centralized exchange, right? It's nothing else than a centralized exchange, hopefully without KYC. One example is Fixed Float, which got hacked a couple of months ago, like twice in a row, and it was like their own company, custodial provider, completely proprietary, without any public contracts or anything. And now in more the crypto native world, so we are inventing all these sorts of like bridging technologies which do some sort of escrow or burning, maybe some validator set. You often don't realize that in the in the non-custodial bridging, okay, it's not like there is like a single party which holds the money, but there might be like a set of validators, permissionless or permissioned, which checks what happens on the chain to mint or allow you to use the funds on another chain, right? So there is some mechanism or the whole network involved, which introduces a lot of complexity. And therefore, a lot of attack surface. We saw the biggest hacks in DeFi for hundreds of millions of dollars, like the biggest ones around $600 million, were all bridges. So I think to give you some more practical advice, actually, because we're talking very abstractly here, think about it in a way like whether you want to use this bridge long term. Because once you lock your money there, they're going to be locked in this bridge, and all of your usage of the layer 2 or the other chain you are using now depends on whether this doesn't get hacked or not, right? Yeah. So if you do it quickly, if you just want to do like one transaction, pay, and leave the chain, that's very easy. Now, if you want to keep using it for years, that's sort of an investment in a Lindy effect into the security, long-term security of that sort of bridge. And to give you some idea what different bridges even do, I would recommend you L2Beat. L2Beat is actually comparing only EVM technology, so there is not Bitcoin bridges, but still it's very useful. They are focused on like layer 2 security, but they have their own category about risk assessment of bridges. So when you go to L2Beat, and their website on bridges, you can see all different bridges technologies, what sort of trade-offs they do, what risks are there. They have a good framework where they take all of these complex considerations and really like simplify down to few points that you can learn about the bridge that you are about to use. For example, like this upgradability of smart contracts, or what sort of like mechanism, whether it's some optimistic validation behind it or some network. So about that, and also like the famous custodial bridges are like WBTC, like which is literally just a company, right? But there are also permissionless bridges for Bitcoin, and I would mention Threshold BTC. The Threshold network is using threshold cryptography for minting Bitcoin on Ethereum or on other chains, and I think that's like the only like permissionless sort of bridge that we have with Bitcoin. However, like still, like, you know, be cautious. Like, I think they are great guys doing a good job, and the cryptography is sound. But like we discussed it before, like the idea is that like technically it's not really possible to do fully trustless bridge. That just doesn't exist. There are always some more considerations involved. However, we can try to approach it. We can do the best we can. We can learn from our mistakes, from all the hacks, and improve our security approach. Yeah. So I hope I give you some examples to what you can use, what you can look into for practical purposes, and also like after talk, feel free to ask me, because there is like a ton of stuff, but these are some base examples. Yeah.
Thank you. And just we have less than 2 minutes, so quickly, looking ahead, what do you see in terms of if the ecosystem is going to be fully multi-chain, or will the space consolidate around a few domain blockchains? And how liquidity and interoperability between chains play a role in these evolutions?
Oh man, I didn't understand it. I'm sorry, the acoustic here is so bad. Can I just read it? Yeah. I will just read the question because I... Oh, yeah.
The future is going to be fully multi-chain, or will be a space consolidated around a few dominant blockchains?
Yeah, like whether we will see dominant... hard to say. Like, I think there is like some free market and some Pareto's rule applying, that we will see some dominance for sure, like few of the best and most trusted Lindy-affected technologies dominate. We see it right now. We have like, I don't know, what is 50% of the market is Bitcoin, 15% maybe is Ethereum, and then other chains, right? Yeah. But again, like that's why we have the thousands of different chains and coins, because it's permissionless. So whenever somebody decides, some community decides that this makes sense to us, free market says, okay, it makes sense to them. Just like let them do their thing. And now, if they have some good technology which allows them easy and secure bridging, it empowers all of us, right? So I think like either way, whether there is probably, I mean, we see the dominance now. I'm not sure whether it's going one way or the another, but there are still a ton of technologies, even with lower liquidity or smaller communities, still practical for people, and still people are excited to use it, and it's important that, so I wanted to say, like, let's build bridges, not walls. And when I talk about these bridges, maybe you feel it in my speech, I talk about bridges, not just the blockchain bridges, but also what we do here right now, the social bridges, the community bridges. Let's talk together. Like, I really like despise this, like, sort of, I don't want to say maximalism or some sort of like echo chambers, right? Where you don't hear the opinion from another point of view, but we are all, even if we are part of like different tech or community, we build similar things and we can learn from each other. We can talk to each other and, you know, focus on those things that we have in common, and because we have the same goal. Our goal is freer society, permissionless tech, and so on. And we can achieve this better if we collaborate, whether by building bridges or just, you know, figuring out the tech together. So, I wanted to say that.
Pablo, for closing.
Thank you.
Very good. Pablo, for closing, what do you think is going to be a multi-chain? 1 minute.
Go ahead.
Quickly.
Okay. I haven't read the question, but I will talk about it. I think it's a general purpose bridges. We will see only a few, because it's infrastructure. It's a very expensive infrastructure to be built, and a lot of different actors and different components that are needed. So we will see a couple of versions. We see layer 0 now, Axelar and Wormhole as the main actors. I don't see a new actor there because it's very expensive and it's very difficult to get this level of maturity. And we don't need more than that. I think it's okay. And then we will have a lot of different specific purpose bridges, as a Rostock bridge, and we will see different permission bridges will be very important for certain technologies where you need, for example, KYC. But we will see those emerging, and the general purpose will remain as a small set.
Thank you, Pablo. And Javier, for close.
No, I think that the future is clearly multi-chain. This is why interoperability and bridging is so important. And although there are many challenges, I think that we can keep working on them, improving the technology, and hopefully one day we will have totally permissionless, trustless, and completely decentralized interoperability between all the different blockchains.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros. Muchas gracias a nuestros asistentes también. Adelante.
Thank you so much.
Gracias.